Hey guys, it's AskSebby, and today we are going to look at some pretty interesting news from this week that you probably want to know about. One big favor before we dive into all of this is give this a thumbs up. It takes you a few seconds, it doesn't cost you anything at all, and it really does help with that YouTube algorithm. Especially since we are going to talk about some topics that are likely going to get this demonetized. We'll talk about a quick deal that you might be interested in, some interesting news out of American Express for new cards, as well as changes with airlines, hotels, cruises, and everything else within that little box. Quick one, and this isn't sponsored by Sony. I noticed that the 3s that I typically use for flights, the noise canceling ones, are on sale right now, cheaper than it's been in the past, and probably some of my favorite headphones because I have big ears. Mandy really likes her QC35s because I think she has smaller ears, but these work out pretty well, especially if you're working from home and your player 2 really likes to play Taylor Swift music. I'll put an Amazon link down below, but go check it out, and I think it's a pretty good price if you were looking for headphones. Moving on over to American Express, in yesterday's video, someone posted a comment linking to the fact that there's going to be 2 new cards in 2020. Jumping to the screenshot, we can see the gold card, the platinum card, the titanium card, and the black card, and then the Centurion card. The ordering of the cards make me think that it's actually going to be the annual fee order because they would have put the Centurion card after the platinum card if it was just new cards at the bottom. Outside of this though, there's not really much other information. We can speculate. I can probably make a 10-minute video talking about what I hope happens or what I think will happen, but my guess in a 2 or 3 minute span is that the titanium card is probably going to have between a $900 annual fee to maybe a $1,300, so maybe $1,250-ish, because I think that makes sense. The black card, given the fact that it's above the Centurion card, I think it's actually going to have about a $2,500 annual fee, so it's going to replace what the Centurion card was before they increased the annual fee. So in case you didn't realize, a few months ago, I believe, they ended up doubling the annual fee for the Centurion card. This seems like a pretty smart move to me because people already call the Centurion card the black card, and if they have something that's cheaper that is also called the black card, it's a way to monetize off their branding that I guess they didn't even have to spend money on. My guess, and this is pure speculation, is that the black card is going to be what the Centurion card was minus some of the other benefits like Equinox. So if you're someone who hates those other benefits, you feel they're worthless and you don't want them, but you still want that black card, then that's going to be that card. For me, that's not really as interesting because I'm not really going after cards to flex. I'm after the cards for their benefits and to hopefully get perks that other people aren't using as much. Between Mandy and myself, we've probably had about 8 of these platinum cards in total, given that they had good intro bonuses in the past, and also because we were fishing for retention offers, which they happily gave us. For me at least, it doesn't make sense to have a card if you're not getting positive expected value in a quantifiable way, just because that's stupid. That might be the perks, it might be retention offers, it might be the other benefits related to the card, but it has to be something. In terms of the titanium card, my guess is it's going to be a super version of the platinum card with more of these partnerships. I think American Express realized that they can actually charge you more money by partnering with places and offering credits. You have to remember that American Express is also trying to make money, and if they can charge you $500 more for a benefit that they're getting for free from someone else, that's a win for them. But if the credit for you is worth $1,000, that's also a win because you're paying $500 for something that's worth $1,000 that you otherwise couldn't have negotiated yourself. Random example, but imagine if they offered you a free GoPro, but they charged you $100 more. If you don't care about the GoPro, then technically this is not valuable. But if you're someone who is willing to pay $300 or $400, which is the market price for it anyways, then this is a good deal for you and it's a win-win-win situation. GoPro gets a win because they're getting their product into more people's hands. American Express is winning because they're charging $100 more and they're not paying anything more in order to get that money. And then you're winning because you would have otherwise spent $400 anyways and you only really spent $100. Probably very derivative, but I feel like I need to say that because sometimes people get angry that the banks are charging more even though it might actually make financial sense for you. My guess is it's going to be startups because startups have money to burn. Probably something like Casper or Warby Parker or something like that, where they spend a lot of money anyways and they can give a credit out. Other than that though, I have no clue and we'll see what happens. One final thing is I actually wonder what is going to happen with the Centurion lounges, just because one of the biggest complaints is that they tend to be pretty packed if you are trying to fly on Monday morning at the business consulting hour time when everyone else is trying to fly. And then throughout the day, it gets a bit better. But if you look at some other airports like Hong Kong, for their Centurion Lounge, they have a separate area for their Centurion members. So in the regular area, it's more of a business class lounge where there's a buffet style and you go grab your own food. But in the Centurion area, it's more of a first class lounge style where they end up serving you. Same thing you'll notice with places like Cathay Pacific. For their lounges, first class, there tends to be a dining area, while for business class, it tends to be more self-serve. If they have Titanium, Black, as well as Centurion, I wonder if they'll subsection off an area for these members, or maybe they'll have priority or something, just because otherwise it doesn't seem that fair. And that's speaking as someone who has Platinum cards rather than a Centurion card. I still feel like for them, they're kind of getting the short end of the stick. Side note, if you haven't liked the video yet, give it a thumbs up. Next, we're going to talk about airlines, hotels, as well as cruises. Towards the end, we'll talk about some important credit card information that you might want to stick around for. So different airlines right now have different cancellation policies. I think if you have a trip coming up and you don't really want to take it anymore and you don't want to go, then now is a good time to call them to figure out what you can do, whether that's rebooking, canceling, or something. If you are someone who is going to travel anyways, then I'd recommend looking at the prices and seeing whether you can actually rebook and cancel if that is an option, if there's no penalty. So a good example of this, which typically people who fly Southwest use, is if the price is cheaper right now and you booked for, let's say, $100 and it's $50 now, you cancel that $100 one, you end up getting a Southwest credit and you rebook at that $50 rates. Given that we've seen a lot of people who are not traveling anymore, I wouldn't be surprised if the rates are substantially cheaper. If you are sick, I'd recommend not traveling just because you can affect other people and also because it can actually get you banned by airlines. JetBlue recently banned a passenger. In terms of hotels, we've seen similar moves by IHG as well as Hilton, and I wouldn't be surprised if other hotel groups follow suit. If you have something booked and you don't want to go there anymore and do that stay, then it might make sense to cancel while you still can. For cruises, I believe all of the major ones have actually offered you credit, 100% of what you paid, to use it at a future time, typically about 12 months from when you were supposed to sail. If you do have a cruise, obviously check the specific terms. The only one that I'm aware of is Disney, and that one is 12 months from the date that you were supposed to sail and 100% of what you spent. I do know some people who are still going on the cruise, and if you want to, if it makes sense for you, then maybe go ahead and do that. Their rationale is that it's less likely to be busy and it's a better experience and less likely to be infected if you have less people there. My biggest fear still is getting quarantined for 14 days and being stuck on a boat for longer than I would like. Or if you're someone who's older, or you live with someone who's older, or you take care of your parents or something, then that's obviously a concern as well. Moving on over to the credit card side, we have seen a bunch of different banks and institutions take different stances, and I think that it should be applauded. Citi, for example, is waiving monthly fees and also waiving penalties for early CD withdrawals. Capital One is helping with minimum payments as well as deferred loans and fee suppression, and Chase is doing it on a case-by-case basis. I've heard for a few other ones like Bank of America, if you call in, it's also case-by-case, but there's a bit less information over there. So if you are someone that thinks that they might be affected, then something to look into. One thing I've recommended is having 3 to 12 months of runway in case stuff hits the fan. And obviously that's good to have if you were prepared, but a lot of people might not have been, and they're in that situation where you have to make it work. Side note, if you are someone that needs a balance transfer card or you think you might need one, then now might be a good time to get it. Sometimes it's better having it as an instrument there to be used rather than not having it, especially given how quickly things can change. A bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. Final thing we'll wrap off with is if you are someone who's after elite status, then a bunch of these places are likely going to be lowering the requirements. We've already seen IHG do this, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hyatt as well as Marriott and pretty much everywhere else do similar things. The rationale being that their target market is going to be consultants who are using their firm's money as well as clients' money in order to travel because they have to, and a lot of people have been grounded for the last 2 weeks. Talking to people who are management consultants, they're pretty much office bound or working from home for the immediate future, so we'll see what happens. My question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on these topics? What do you think is going to happen with American Express cards with those 2 new cards? What about all this news related to cancellations? Let me and the community know in the comments down below. If you want to learn about balance transfer cards or pretty much any other cards, we have links on our website, AskSebby.com, and down below in the description box. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. If you know anyone else who'd benefit from what we just talked about, share this with them. It'll probably help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. I think I did my hand motions a bit too quick compared to what I was saying.